Innsmouth, stranger.
Greetings, travellers, and welcome to episode 113 of the Innsmouth Book Club podcast. As you can see, we've brought you on a frosty October evening to the bookshop. Just watch out for them non-Euclidean pumpkins, because today we're going to be delving into a mythos classic. I'm one of your hosts, Tim Mendes.
And I'm the other one, Rob Hoyton. Yes, Halloween in Innsmouth. Where else would you want to be at Halloween? And as we always say at this time of year, there's some rather odd-looking decorations that don't bear too close inspection, unless you want to make a sand roll, I think.
Yeah. I accidentally wandered into the Gilman House Hotel when they were having a pumpkin carving competition the other week. That was... I'll never be the same again.
You ever heard a pumpkin scream?
God almighty. Yeah.
And we are looking at a Halloween story today, aren't we?
Indeed. Yeah, by complete accident. but yeah.
It's the best things happen by accident. It gives us a veneer of having carefully planned things, but nothing could be further from the truth, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. I chose this story because I'd mentioned it in the quiz I did at the ILF. So I wanted to read it again. And I thought, well, if I'm reading it, we may as well cover it.
Yes, I don't think I'd read this for a long time. I must have read it before, but my memory of it was quite hazy. Yeah, we're looking at Notebook Found in a Deserted House by Robert Bloch. And yeah, not only is it Blocktober, and I can't take credit for that. That's from the HP Podcraft guys. But the story actually takes place over Halloween.
Yeah. It's a very effective story. It's one I read very early on. I was quite young when I read this, and I found it very effective. And it's still effective to this day, which is something Bloch you could say about a lot of his stories. For some reason, they don't seem to diminish with time.
They don't really date, do they? They don't feel like they age. Well, I suppose he was writing in a much more modern way than Lovecraft or even Smith. Maybe even Howard to some extent. So it does still feel very modern, I think, his writing.
Yeah, which is interesting, really, because especially with this story, because this story is written in a very similar style to a really old classic of weird fiction. You know,
indeed, yes. Which we shall be getting to.
Indeed, of course we will. Yeah.
Before we do, there's just a few news items to mention. The Halloween edition of Innsmouth News will be out probably the week after next. I'm going to be away for a few days this coming week, but on my return, I shall endeavour to get that out in time for Halloween. Not sure what's going in that yet, but there's usually an article or two about Halloween. And of course, there'll be a full report on the Innsmouth Literary Festival. And I understand there's some music news, sir.
Yes, the new video, Grooving in Green's latest track, The Shuttered Room, for all you bat-eared listeners out there. Yes, it has been inspired by a lot of weird fiction. There's a lot of references, not just to The Shuttered Room, but to things like the yellow wallpaper and all things like that. And yeah, I cobbled together a video, and that's up on YouTube. You can check that out now.
Excellent. And lastly, I just want to mention that the Innsmouth Forum is up and running now. Thanks to everyone who's joined up to that so far. And we've got some nice discussions underway. And do take a look at that. We'll put the link down below. As I say, really, it'd be really nice to make that a focal point for discussions rather than just posting notices. I think Facebook now, I even find Discord to some extent, it's all right to make an announcement, but I find having a discussion on those platforms quite difficult.
It is, because they get lost, don't they? I don't get on with Discord. It frustrates me, because I'll get a notification saying somebody replied to something, and then there's no easy way of finding it. You've just got to scroll through.
Scroll, yeah. I think they're made for phones, aren't they? It strikes me, that sort of thing, which probably dates us horribly.
Yeah, I guess so.
But we are men from the 1900s.
Indeed. Men of consequence, yes.
Okay, let's get into the story then. Now, we have covered Robert Bloch before. It was way back in episode 39 in, can you believe this, March 2022.
Mm,
3 years ago. Doesn't
yeah,
time fly?
doesn't it?
Where we covered the Faceless God
Oh yeah.
and Dr. Phibes, the film as well. We
Yes.
did a story and a film back then.
Bloody hell. We did a double bill, did we, back? Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but just as a reminder, Robert Bloch was born in 1917 in Chicago. His family later moved from there to Milwaukee, which was largely where he grew up. His introduction to weird fiction came at the age of 10 when he got hold of the August 1927 copy of Weird Tales. At the age of 10, that's
Yeah. So similar to myself, really. I mean, I was,
yeah. I guess for us it was the paperbacks, wasn't it? You start picking up those yeah.
And those big old Reader's Digest books that old grandparents had of like best supernatural stories.
Oh yes, the Pan books of horror.
Pan books of horror, yeah, man.
They used to go around the playground like currency. Yeah, them are the Sven Hassel books. Yeah. In October 1927, the young Bloch read Pickman's Model, and that set him off as a fan of Lovecraft. And in 1933, he wrote to Lovecraft asking about his earlier stories. And this just gets me every time. Lovecraft lent him his copies of his earlier stories through the post to someone he didn't even know. So it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's brilliant. Yeah.
He also gave the young Bloch writing advice. And Bloch began writing, and he submitted to Weird Tales a few stories. Guess what Farnsworth did?
Of course he did.
He's rejecting Clark Ashton Smith. I mean, who else stands a chance?
Yeah.
So actually, the first publication by Bloch in Weird Tales was a letter he wrote in criticising Robert E. Howard's Conan stories, which I think later he recanted on that a bit.
He was a frequent contributor to the eerie Weird Tales because I tend to go and have a look whenever we cover a story like today's that got published in Weird Tales, spoiler alert, and have a look if there's been anything about it in the eerie. And Bloch often pops up in there commenting and talking about the stories and getting in on some of the arguments and things. It's
It's nice, isn't it, when a fan like that becomes a writer or the writer is a fan? And I think that's going to lead to someone else who we're going to mention in a little bit, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually he did get stories published in July 1934, including The Feast in the Abbey and Secret in the Tomb. I think it's fair to say that his early work was very Lovecraft. I don't want to use the word pastiche too much because, I mean, there's some great stories in there, but very infused with Lovecraft, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of putting it. Lovecraft infused. Because I think, was it The Feast in the Abbey, which was his first to appear in print?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was 17 when that happened.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Doesn't that just make you sick? 17. Bloody hell.
And The Faceless God we covered. That was an excellent story. And of course, then famously, him and Lovecraft bouncing back and forth with the Shambler in the Stars, the Haunter in the Dark, and so on.
Yeah.
I believe he was the only writer that was had a story dedicated to him by Lovecraft, I think.
I think you're right in saying that, yeah.
So following that, of course, Bloch went on to have an extremely successful career as a writer. Probably his best known stories include Yours Truly, Jack the Ripper, and Psycho, which, as we know, became a box office sensation. Poor old Bobby Bloch, he just made about $6,000 off of that. They stitched him up a bit, I think.
Oh, apparently so, yeah.
And also pertinent to the time of year, he wrote 3 Star Trek episodes, including Cat's Paw, which aired on Halloween 1967. And it's a real spooky, haunted castle type story, in case you haven't seen it. It does mention the old ones as well. So there's our little Lovecraft Star Trek crossover again.
Oh, lovely, lovely. He had quite a few adaptations because obviously everybody knows about Psycho, right? But he did a lot of TV stuff.
Yes.
Because was it Night Gallery did the Weird Tailor, or was that Boris Karloff's Thriller? Can't remember off the top of my head. It may have been Thriller.
I think it was Thriller. Yeah, I think that was Thriller. But yeah, he
Yeah.
had a successful career writing, not just in terms of short stories and novels, but a lot of work for film and TV.
Mhm.
I think he was working with Amicus at one time.
Yeah, because wasn't he? I can't remember what it was now. Like they were saying, maybe he could do the screenplay for one of the one of the Poes or something like that. But it never happened, and it's one of those biggest what ifs because that would have been brilliant.
Did that go to? Was that like where Corman came in instead or whatever? He was,
Yeah, I just remember when we were covering something before, it may have been Mask of the Red Death, that I remember reading that one of the people tipped to do some kind of adaptation of something was Bloch. But yeah, there you go.
That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think him and Richard Matheson are the two premier sort of screenwriters at that time for horror, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Righto, shall we have a quick look at the publication history? It's quite straightforward because it was basically snapped up on first submission in May 1951 by Dorothy McIlwraith. I have to say that name every time we mention that editor of Weird Tales, just because it's the best name ever. Dorothy McIlwraith. Oh, it sounds like a character from Roald Dahl's The Witches or something, doesn't it?
She roams the Barrow Downs, putting down whites and and stuff. Yeah.
Sounds tremendous. It's a tremendous name. But anyway, yeah, he was published in the May 1951 issue of Weird Tales and was actually the cover story. It had a very striking cover done for it by Lee Brown Coy. Are you familiar with the name?
No, I'm afraid I'm not. No.
Well, you're going to be very familiar with the work, though. Incredibly prolific. Lee Brown Coy was an American artist who lived between July 1907 and September 1981. He was born in Syracuse, New York, and lived there most of his life. Now, he's best known for his work on the pulp magazines, but he got his first break from illustrating the cover of one of the August Derleth edited anthologies, Sleep No More.
Ah, nice.
He then went on to do the covers for Who Knocks and The Night Side.
Wow.
Now, due to this association with these Derleth edited pulps, he got his foot in the door with Weird Tales. And they took a lot of his work, a hell of a lot of his work, not just as cover art, but as interior illustrations as well. His first commissioned piece was an illustration for a story by Helen Casson in the March 1945 issue, and he's regarded as one of the finest Weird Tales cover artists of all time. Certainly from the mid-40s onwards, you will have seen a lot of his cover art because he did a lot. He was very prolific. His work also appeared in such magazines as Fantastic and Amazing, and he also did covers for H.P. Lovecraft, Carl Edward Wagner, Manly Wade Wellman, and others.
It's a nice little roster, isn't it?
So yeah, you will probably own at least one of his covers somewhere. Yeah. I didn't know the name either, and yeah, there you go.
Well, I think we tend not to. Again, going back to that paperback thing, you just almost took it for granted that paperbacks had amazing covers. Bruce Pennington with the Clark Ashton Smith ones, Frazetta, I guess everyone knows Frazetta now.
Frazetta, yeah.
But yeah, Les Edwards, UK artist. Again, you'll know when you see.
Who was it did the art for the Guy N. Smith books? Because that was brilliant. Like the Night of the Crabs and Slime Beast. It's very stylistic and very pulpy. I love that. I'd love to find out.
I shall have to look into that. It reminded me, I don't know if it was the same guy, but there were a lot of Western pulps out at that time as well.
Yeah, there was.
Similar sort of style. Yeah, very distinctive look.
Yeah, so the notebook found in a deserted house was later published by Chaosium. More from them later on. In the Call of Cthulhu fiction range book, The Mysteries of the Worm, which is what I'm going. Oh, well, I'm glad we brought this up because we've just waved each other's copies at each other steady on, and we seem to have different editions, which is interesting. Yes, Mysteries of the Worm, Cthulhu Mythos Stories of Robert Bloch. I'm going from the revised 2007 third edition, which adds 4 more stories.
Ah, okay. This says copyright 1993.
Oh, you've got a first edition.
So that's the first edition there. Yeah. published in October 1993. Oh, isn't that nice? It's published in October as well.
Aye, yeah,
This is Halloween all round. This is, isn't it?
yeah. So yeah, I've got stories that you don't have in there then, because I've got the ones that are not in your version apparently are The Opener of the Way, The Eyes of the Mummy, Black Bargain, and Filter Tip.
Yeah, none of those are in here. Yeah, that's quite a few, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have the introduction and everything else?
Yes, indeed. I've got but I've got a preface from Robert M. Price.
Yeah.
I've got an afterword from Bloch. And I've got a thing from Lynn Carter as well.
Yes, I've got the afterword and the Demon Dreaded Law, the Lynn Carter. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Perhaps we'll look at those. We're going to be doing a reading at some point, so maybe we'll put those in as a reading.
That's what I was going to do. I was going to for probably for next week, won't it be?
Yes, because I'm away next week,
yeah.
so there'll be no episode.
Right. Yeah. So next week, you'll get to hear my dulcet tones, and I will go through these little bits of, appendices. Let's put it like that, from the Mysteries of the Worm. All
right. So let's get into the story. And the first thing I like about this is it starts with the ending. Very Lovecraftian. This is I put a bullet into my best friend's head kind of territory, isn't it? Or
classic.
You might think me mad. I know that's a Poe, but yeah.
The first thing you notice here is the narrative style, which is quite striking. And I actually really like it because I sometimes struggle with this when it's done it in dialect. But I think he's done this quite deftly because the way it's written from the perspective of a young kiddie, right? What is he, a 12-year-old boy?
Yeah, 12 years old. Yeah.
It's obviously written in his style, but the way it's done, he hasn't changed the spellings of things, which make it kind of impenetrable sometimes. Like Lovecraft did it, Derleth did it,
Oh, M.R. James, yeah, the phonetic yokel kind of thing, yeah.
But it's done. The grammar is done. So I ain't seen nobody, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is sort of how I handle it as well. So you get the mode of speech, and you can hear the mode of speech, but it doesn't. It's not jarring. Yes. So I think that's quite deftly done. And the first thing you notice from this first line, first off, I want to write that I never did anything wrong, not to nobody. They got no call to shut me up here, whoever they are. They got no reason to do what I'm afraid they're going to do either. The white people.
Yes, Mr. Machen.
Indeed.
I think, yes, Machen. Also, once you get into this, once you start getting into the descriptions of the countryside, obviously the Dunwich Horror.
Oh, yeah.
Which in itself is a looking back to Machen.
To Machen, yeah.
And then little bit later on, once we get into druids and everything else, then I think we're into Worms of the Earth territory as well.
Well, that was Machen. That was inspired by Machen as well.
Yeah.
It all comes back to Machen, doesn't it?
Yeah, because even where it was set was not far from Machen's birthplace.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah.
And, something I've been researching because my my long-awaited or long in production sequel to Worms of the Earth is undergoing a proofread just now. So it will be out this year. I think I said that 2 years ago, but
it'll be out when it's out,
It'll be out when it's out. Yes, I'll be talking a little bit about the druids later on.
Yeah, because later on there's mentions of the thing they live in the hills and down below, and the gate in the well, and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, this is so Machen. It's just brilliant. And
the lovely atmospheric parts about the stone circles up in the hills and the strange drummings and the lights at night and all that sort of stuff. Which, I feel like it's almost its own little part of the mythos.
Yeah,
isn't it? And it's definitely now down as Lovecraft country because we get mentions of Arkham and Innsmouth and all the rest as well.
Yeah, it's just like a little out of the way hamlet in the middle of bloody nowhere, basically, isn't it? It's which is a great setting. Those kind of rustic settings, they're great for this kind of story, especially obviously this is a period piece, so there's no cars, there's no telephone. It's 3 hours by coach to the nearest civilization kind of thing.
There's a funny bit about that I just picked up, just rereading it again for today. When he talks about the nearest station a bit later on, the nearest station is 7 miles away. Have a guess how close my nearest station
Is
is.
it 7 miles?
It's
Nice.
about 7 miles. I had to have a quick look out the window when I read that, just to trek. There, sure, there's some trees over there that weren't there before.
Yeah.
But,
You've got a really nasty old well at the bottom of your garden.
I've got something at the bottom of the garden, but I'm not going to go into that now. Let's draw a tarpaulin over that, shall we?
Nice, nice.
I better start by telling my name, which is Willie Osbourne, and that I am 12 years old last July. I don't know where I was born. First thing I can remember is living out Rootsford way, out in what folks call the back hill country. It's real lonesome out there with deep woods all around and lots of mountains and hills that nobody ever climbs. Grandma used to tell me about it when I was just a little shaver. That's who I live with, just Grandma, on account of my real folks being dead. Grandma knew all kinds of things about the hills and woods, and she told me some mighty queer stories. That's what I thought they was anyway, when I was little and living all alone with her. Just stories, like the ones in the books.
That was brilliant. Really appreciate you reading that, because you went so cockney. It was ridiculous because of the way it's written. Because of the way it's written, you slipped into East End.
I went proper street urchin there. I did not do nothing, mister. It weren't me. It was the big boys what done it.
Yeah. Get the peelers.
Shut up and drink your gin. One of the best lines from Oliver. That's a great line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, poor little chap's an orphan. He's being raised by his grandma, which was not uncommon back then, I imagine. But then she passes away and is off to live with Aunt Lucy and Uncle Fred, who live even further out in this desolate area.
Yeah. The stories that he was told, he told him about them ones. I like that fact it's in italics.
Yes.
Them ones. Hiding in the swamps that were there before settlers and the native tribes, and how that there were circles in swamps, big stones called altars where them ones you used to make sacrifices to what they worshipped. So even before we get off the first page, we've got the stage set. We know where we are. We're in full on, that kind of territory. Yokel knowledge. There'll be some old geezer down at the nearest post office. You don't want to be going up there.
Well, it is, and this is this nice mix of mythos and folk horror, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
And yeah, we got that pretty early on about the sacrifices as well, because this is something that the indigenous people used to do occasionally. But they gave them ones a wide berth. They gave them plenty of space. And I guess then what happens is when the settlers come in and start expanding their villages and their towns and everything else, this is like a clash of worlds then, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of similar setup to the Mound, isn't it? Because that was kind of the problem with that, was people encroaching on these kind of old sacred places. Curse of Yig as well.
Yeah, well, this is the common thing with fairy stories, isn't it?
Yes.
This is your bit. You stay there.
Yeah.
This is our bit. Don't go in the fairy ring. Certainly don't cut down the fairy tree.
God, no. Yeah.
Which we know still goes on, right? There's a very clear delineation between this world and that world. There's that sort of liminal space in between, or the place where they live is the liminal space that they occasionally pop in and out of, perhaps.
Yeah, it's like in I can't remember whereabouts it is, but the Republic of Ireland, there's a dead arrow straight road, and then all of a sudden there's a tree and the road goes round it and then goes back to being straight again. And I remember we were there when I was a kid, and I was like, why don't they just move the tree? So that's a fairy tree. You don't no.
Don't muck about with that. I did read a very good, I think there was a series of books, 2 or 3 of them, certainly. If I remember the title, I'll put a link to it in the notes below. It was about industrialization in Britain and about how the Fey people were not destroyed, but they were very distressed because they started putting railways in, lines of iron running across the country, and suddenly they can't go from A to B anymore because you've got this iron sort of boundary almost across. Yeah, it was a real nice concept, I thought.
That is a very cool concept. Yeah.
So we get the full-on Lovecraft country sort of background here, don't we? I heard all kinds of stories about witches and devils and batmen that sucked your blood and haunts, about Salem and Arkham, because I never been to a city and I wanted to hear tell how they were. About a place called Innsmouth with old rotten houses where people hid awful things away in the cellars and the attics. She told me about the way graves was dug deep under Arkham, made it sound like the whole country was full of haunts. So that's nice. We get the deep ones in Innsmouth, we get the ghouls in Arkham, we get all the Salem history. This is nice world building, and I know in a sense it's building upon something that's already there. But I think, like we often say about Smith, in a few paragraphs, he really does set the scene.
Yeah, well, I'd say that Bloch is one of them authors that is very good at building an atmosphere in just a few paragraphs. Like he's very good at just saying in very few words, you should be really uneasy now. That's talent. You know, he's very talented at creeping the hell out.
And we've already got that opening about, I didn't do nothing, but they're coming for me and they're going to do something. And then it starts filling in all this background detail.
Mm.
And I like this as well. She used to scare me, telling about how some of these things looked, but she never would tell me how them ones looked, no matter how I asked.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, we've got vampires and we've got ghouls and we've got, you know, but we don't talk about them ones. They're too horrible to even contemplate.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just in the bottom of the same paragraph, we get some more kind of world building here, because it turns out it was lucky for me I didn't have to bother with such ideas, like my own ancestor on my father's side, Mehistabel Osbourne, who got hanged for a witch back in the Salem days.
Yes. Now, I had to look that name up, of course.
Mm.
Not an uncommon name from the
No,
looks
it's
of it.
not. No, I did the same. I was the
Yeah.
same. I've got to look that up. Yeah.
Did you find a Vermont one?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Brilliant, brilliant. Because I did wonder if this was something from the actual witch trials. And I found a few, but I think the closest was 1767. So that's Salem. The trials are, I think, 1690s. So it's a little bit after. But, you know, we can speculate.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I'm right in this. I think in the Dunwich Horror, there's a Joe Osbourne who's one of the townsfolk, possibly.
Is he one of the geezers that hangs around that store?
I think so, yeah, because there's speculation as to, was he the store owner? I think in one of the games they made him the store owner.
Ah.
But I'm pretty sure he's in the story, but I could be wrong on that.
Mm.
So yeah, that puts you in mind of Lovecraft's use of waits and marshes and Tillinghasts and all the rest, isn't it? Good local names.
Oh yeah. We get another one in the right in the next paragraph, don't we? So they were just stories to me until last year when Grandma died and Judge Crubbinthorpe put me on the train, and I went out to live with Aunt Lucy and Uncle Fred in the very same hills that Grandma used to tell us about so often. So it's one of those things, isn't it? The grandma telling you these stories, right, to stop you wandering off into the woods, right? And then all of a sudden you're living in them.
I know. Well, the first thing I thought was Crubbinthorpe has got to be Yorkshire background, isn't it?
Has to be Crubbinthorpe. Aye.
Crubbinthorpe. Bastard.
Yeah.
That's a question. Let's look at this now. Aunt Lucy and Uncle Fred. I was thinking when I first read this, is there something dodgy about them? Because they live out here. And I was even looking at the names. I came up with Lucifred.
That sounds like something from Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Or Lucifer D. That could be like a DJ, couldn't it? There you go.
Yeah.
So I wondered, but going through it, they don't seem to have any real connection with what they know. Stuff is going on, but they're not part of it. I mean, you could say they become part of it at the end in an unfortunate way, but they're not bad people.
No.
And this is where we get our first glimpse of the mysterious woods. Trees and all were so old too. No animals around or birds. Path kind of overgrown, like nobody used it much ever. Uncle Fred drove along right fast. He didn't hardly talk to me at all, but just made that old horse hump it. Pretty soon we struck into some hills. They was awfully high ones. They was woods on them too, and sometimes a brook came running down, but I didn't see no houses, and it was always dark, like at twilight, wherever you looked. So yeah, very Machen-esque, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And I think we've all been in those places, like when you bright sunshine, but then you walk in the woods and it could be midnight. You know, they're so
Yes.
dense, and that just chill, that preternatural chill comes over you.
He's already nervous of these woods because of what Grandma said, and he picks up that his aunt and uncle are also very nervous as well. They lock the doors at night and never go into the woods after dark, even in summer. I'd imagine at that time and in that sort of place, locking all your doors at night would have been quite unusual.
Yeah, definitely.
But like young kids do, I suppose, he soon overcomes his fear, and once he's done his chores for the day, he starts investigating, starts searching around in the woods. And that brings us to early October. And I also like here, we get our first mention of old Cap Pritchett, the mailman, who I christened him Chekhov's mailman.
Nice.
We'll talk about him later on, I think. But yeah, it was just a nice little reference there to set up what happens later on. This is where we get our first real indication that something is going on. He hears a sound. It was far away at first, kind of a dropping noise, sounding like the blood falling in little spurts on the bottom of the bucket when Uncle Fred hung up a butchered hog. Sounding like a lot of people running or walking all at once, moving this way, twigs busting under feet and scrabbling in the bushes, all mixed up in the noise. I scrunched down behind the boulder and kept real quiet. There's an awful smell comes with this as well, like, and again, a lovely description, something that was dead and buried being uncovered again in the sun. That's really creepy.
Yeah, something I've noticed from these passages especially is that Bloch is incredibly good at using very grim descriptions to describe things like the blood falling in a bucket and things like that. It's because obviously blood has a different consistency to water, you know, so it has a very specific sound. And if anybody's worked with butchering animals, they'll know that sound, which I do, and it's enough like yeah.
It's very specific, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, and not having heard that noise, that wouldn't be a description that I would use, if you know what I mean. And yet him using that, I know what he means. And it really gives it that extra air of, well, like you say, grimness.
Yeah, because he could have said water in a bucket or
just drip, drip, drip,
anything.
Really.
Anything. But yeah, something that was long dead and buried and uncovered in the sun. It's that added bit, something long dead and buried would have been enough, but uncovered in the sun.
Yeah, that's things left out in the sun that shouldn't be out in the light, isn't it? This is where we get the voice. Doesn't sound like a voice, but more like a buzzing or croak, deep and droning. But it has to be a voice because it's saying words. Not words I could understand, but words. Words that made me keep my head down, half afraid I might be seen and half afraid I might see something. So that's a really nice touch as well. And that goes back to the grandmother never describing these things. They're too horrible to even look at. And as much as a kid of that age would be really curious, well, I suppose a lot of us would, he knows something intuitive tells him that he doesn't want to see this thing.
Yeah. And it's a lovely little bit of tension built in this one paragraph. He stayed there sweating and shaking while the smell was making him sick. Bloch is very good at turning that screw, isn't he? And ramping up that tension very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And the buzzing and droning voice, there's a couple of things of this that sort of reminded me of Whisper in Darkness as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure it's mentioned in other Lovecraft stories, like the buzzing of insects. I'm sure there's...
Well, the Owl as If.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, the Owl as If. I mean, that's how Abdul al-Hazred is said to have been given the knowledge, was from the drone of insects.
Yes, yes. And we get our first two full-on mythos names here. We get Shub-Niggurath and Shoggoth. I'm not going to attempt to read the rest of that line because I have human vocal cords.
Well, there's Neb in there as well, which I would say.
Oh, of course, yes. Yes. And almost really perhaps. I
Yeah,
think that is
yeah.
really actually, isn't it?
I think it is supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, because he's writing it as he
Phonetic.
phonetically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Chaosium before,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where Chaosium got one of their monsters from, right?
Indeed. Well, this is why I wanted to bring it up. Yeah. Because, yeah, the creature in this is described in the story is called a shoggoth, but the description is what we all know as a dark young.
Now, obviously, when Bloch wrote this, there wasn't such a thing as dark young. I think we have the goat of the woods. Well, the goat of the woods with 1,000 dark young, but there wasn't. I don't know that had been. Yeah, it not been described as such. Had it really?
There wasn't an actual creature. No.
So I thought it was quite clever of Chaosium to take this, because this creature, as we'll see in a moment, feels more like a dark young than a shoggoth.
Yeah, yeah. That's what became a dark young, isn't it? Almost. But the thing is, though, just look at it at two different evolutionary strands of shoggoth.
Yeah.
One of them is more marine and all the rest of it. That's your big protoplasmic wibbly ones. And then this one's your more earth. So if you want to get all Derlethian on this, you could have a fiery one as well. You know,
have a fire shoggoth.
Maybe the Cthulhu's fire vampires are actually shoggoths. You know? Who knows? Because I mean, a lot of these creatures, these servitor creatures in the mythos, are created out of protoplasm and things. So formless spawn. You know.
Yeah. So in effect, there could be different strains.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I always have the feeling they were created in laboratories, like test tube, test tube babies. That's a big test tube, but you know.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I used that before in a couple of stories, that humans were an accident, a result of one of these experiments going wrong. You know?
Well, I read a book years ago, and I can't remember who it was by, but it was really, really, it was another one of them that gives you an existential crisis, and it's called Prehistoric Germ Warfare.
Oh.
And it's basically about us being
being a blip, being
be it basically an STD or you know, that's Upper Sattler, isn't it? Upper Sattler. It's basically we're basically a yeast infection.
Life is a sexually transmitted disease, right?
Yeah.
As Mr. Ligotti might have once said, perhaps.
Oh God, yeah, probably.
The thing that ties this in really is the goatiness and the tree-iness of it all, which again, the shoggoths is described in The Mountains of Madness, like you say, big protoplasm. But this is the beauty of the mythos, right? There's not one thing. The difficulty, as we've said in a game, of course, you've got to have statistics, you've got to have something a bit concrete, I suppose.
Yeah.
But having said that, I thought it was a good move on Chaosium's part to use this description.
I think it's great. And it's taken on a life of its own. I mean, because even like Brian Lumley used them, all kinds of people. I have, you know, several times I've used, you know, and I've always used the Bloch description as my base for them.
And because it ties in so nicely with the idea of tree and nature worship. So then it's the question, is this nature distorted, or is this the true nature? You know,
nice.
Is this nature with a bit of shoggoth injected into it, kind of thing? Is this
is nature a shoggoth?
Or when an ent meets a shoggoth, we're like back to the Monster Club, right? You know, you get your Van Goo.
Nice.
Treebeard got it on with the shoggoth. It's just the result.
Ent shoggoth rumpy. Well, we know from Fat Face that shoggoths do like a bit of wooing. You know?
They do like a bit of wooing, yeah.
Maybe one of them read Treebeard some of its poetry. You know?
Yeah, because he was into poetry, wasn't he? Treebeard.
Yeah,
he was.
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
I think we just invented a horrible new crossover genre.
Yeah,
Zoe will be on that.
No, she will, yeah. But this is what brought into mind, and I believe we're actually, because I was going to read some excerpts from a story now, one of the stories that took this concept and ran with it in an unbelievably good way. But we've decided that if I started doing that, we'd be here all day just talking about that. So we're going to do another episode on this story. It's a novelette by Elizabeth Bear, and she actually won a Hugo Award for this story. It's called Shoggoths in Bloom, and I love it.
Nice.
It's one of my favorites. It's basically it's a nature research center, like where they study the life cycles of things, and they're studying the life cycles of shoggoths. And this is your tree-like shoggoths, so they bloom when they're in the mating season and things like this. It's like an Attenborough thing with shoggoths. It's amazing.
And here we see,
Yeah,
in the wilds of the Antarctic.
yeah, exactly. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm not going to delve into it now, but yeah, I think Elizabeth Bear really took the sort of the starting point from Bloch and Chaosium's spin on it and really ran with that, you know.
Which again is a lovely thing with the mythos, because we don't have these hardline definitions. And that's why we've speculated one of the reasons for Lovecraft's continuing popularity with writers is you can take an idea like that and just go off on your own little tentacle and come up with something totally new that still fits. It still fits the mythos, you know?
Definitely.
So although he doesn't look at the thing, in fact, he passes out, that night he does see it in his dreams. So this is a nice little crossover with Dreamlands, I think. And also, of course, the source of some of Lovecraft's own stories from his dreams and nightmares. It was real tall and all inky black, without any particular shape, except a lot of black ropes with ends like hoofs on it. I mean, it had a shape, but it kept changing, all bulgy and squirming into different sizes. There was a lot of mouths all over the thing, like puckered up leaves on branches. That's as close as I can come. The mouths was like leaves, and the whole thing was like a tree in the wind. A black tree with lots of branches trailing the ground, and a whole lot of roots ending in hoofs. And that green slime dribbling out of the mouths and down the legs was like sap.
Nice.
We've had a little reference to that green slime before, right? With the well. There's 2 wells on the property.
Yep.
And the old well is useless because it's
full of slime.
Yeah. Which, you know, a little bit of colour out of space kind of reference as well, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now, yes, anybody who was at the Friday night quiz from the Innsmouth Literary Festival will have heard that passage that Rob just read, because that's the passage that I chose to represent a dark young in the Describe the Indescribable round.
Did everyone get that one?
One team did. Yeah. Only one team got it. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Oh. So here we get our mention of druids. Next day, I remember to look in a book Aunt Lucy had downstairs. It was called A Mythology. The book told about some people who lived over in England and France in the old days and was called druids. They worshipped trees. So now the druid, obviously we're back in Machen territory now, because the druids, Celtic, including Wales. The good thing about the druids from a writer's point of view is we don't really know much about them at all. They've got no written records. Pretty much everything we have is from the Romans, especially like Cicero and Tacitus. We do know that the Romans suppressed them. Well, suppressed is one way of putting it, I suppose. Slaughtered might be a more accurate description.
Yeah.
Certainly in Gaul, and in AD 60 with the invasion of Anglesey. In fact, I think they invaded Anglesey twice, because that was like the Druid stronghold. And the fact that they did that gave Boudica the chance to nip down to London and burn it to the ground, because all the Romans were off over in Wales at the time, or most of them. This is the very brief history. According to the Romans, the Druids practiced human sacrifice. We're all familiar with the Wicker Man, I'm sure. But they also used drowning, hanging, and burning, something called the threefold death. Now, I'm not going to go into that now, because that's a whole quite big subject in itself. That also ties in with Norse mythology and various other things. Some speculate that this is just Roman propaganda, just to make them sound like, well, we had to wipe them out because, you know, like the Romans weren't doing similar stuff. But there we go. That's empires for you.
Yeah. Well, you see that throughout history, don't you? You know, it's that whole history's written by the winners. Yeah.
Yeah. The word druid, how actually that does seem to be quite accurate, because in Old Irish, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this properly
Please do.
because you know
I could do with a good laugh.
no, I'm going to spare you my cod Irish accent. D-R-U-I, druid, means sorcerer. In Welsh, it's D-R-Y-W, which means seer. So it's druid. You can see how druid, or wherever it's pronounced, becomes Latinized as druids.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I say, this is something I've been researching for Queen of the Fens. And as I say, the nice thing is, because so little is known about druids from a writing perspective, you can make your own shit up to a large extent.
Yeah, I love the speculation that Bloch gets into now, because he talks about the druids lived across the oceans. How could it be? How could they be there? And he did a lot of thinking about it over the next couple of days. At last, I figured it out something like this. Maybe those druids got chased out of the forests over in England and France, and some of them was smart enough to build boats and come across the ocean like old Leif Erikson is supposed to have. Then they could maybe settle in the woods back here and frighten away the native tribes with their magic spells.
Which fits perfectly with the history, because we know there were Norse settlers in Newfoundland as far back as 1000 AD. And something that surprised me, they were there until the mid-15th century. So, you know, they'd established quite a colony. I think they called it Vinland in their own language.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes, we continue to the saying now that it must be the druids hiding in the swamps that would be doing the drumming and pounding and that lit the fires on the hill. And they would be calling up them ones, the tree spirits or whatever, out of the earth. Then they would make sacrifices. Those druids always made sacrifices with blood, just like the old witches. And didn't Grandma tell about people who lived too near the hills disappearing and never being found again? Yeah. So yeah, poor little bugger.
But again, this is very Lovecraft, isn't it? You tie in the real history with the folklore and then give it a thin layer of mythos over the top. And it is what adds that verisimilitude to the mythos now, you know, which leads to people going to the library and asking, have you got a Necronomicon in stock? Yeah, you got to feel sorry for this kid, haven't you? Well, you know, especially the way it turns out. But this is Bloch again, ratcheting up the tension, almost paragraph by paragraph, because we started with the stories. Now he's heard something. Now he's dreaming something. Now he's starting to work out the facts about the situation, which is never a good thing in mythos stories, right? Ignorance is bliss. And then you get, it was getting close to Halloween. That was the big time, Grandma always said. I began to wonder, how soon now? So now we've got it's approaching something.
And now I've got in my head the only Smith song I vaguely like, and I can only listen to it if I don't listen to Morrissey's voice. How soon is now? Yeah. that Johnny Marr.
Yeah, that's Johnny.
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Marr
Well,
song,
that
isn't
guitar,
it, really?
that heavily, yeah, you know, heavily treated guitar. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. This scares the young lad so much he stops going out of the house. Aunt Lucy thinks maybe he's not feeling very well. This is where we get the first sight of Cap Pritchett with the mail. And he comes with a letter, which was probably quite unusual in those days as well. And the letter is from cousin Osbourne, who's coming to stay with us. He was kin to Aunt Lucy, and he had a vacation, and he wanted to stay a week. He'd get here on the same train I did, the only train that was passing through these parts on noon, October the 25th. Well, we shall speculate about cousin Osbourne at the end, shall we? We'll see what happens here, because I've got a few questions about the cousin.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the 25th comes, and Uncle Fred gets the horse and buggy out, and off he goes to the station to pick up cousin Osbourne. And to put it in blunt terms, he doesn't come back. Well, the horse and buggy does.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, because there's also a real raging storm that's kicked up after, because there's speculation about this as well, isn't there? It's linking to the druids and their use of magic to control the elements and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. And he does notice that now the water in the new well has gone all slimy as well.
Yeah, that's never a good sign, is it?
No, this is like it's almost, I thought it was like a creeping infection It's gradually coming in.
It's just coming up from the earth, isn't it? Again, very Machen, very Machen. Yeah.
And it's that Halloween idea, right? The time of year when the veil is at its thinnest.
Yeah.
This is when they can break through.
Yeah.
So it gets to 7 o'clock at night. We've got the wind and the rain and everything else. Still no sound of Uncle Fred. He should have easily been back by now. And they even go out and sort of stand at the fence, holding a lantern up, and they hear something. I listened and heard a drumming sound far away. Horse and buggy, I said. Aunt Lucy perked up. You're right, she says all at once, and it is because we see it. The horse is running fast, and the buggy lurches behind it, crazy-like. It didn't even take a second look to see something had happened, because the buggy don't stop by the gate, but keep going up the barn with Aunt Lucy and me running through the mud after the horse. The horse is all full of lather and foam, and when it stops, it can't stand still. Aunt Lucy and I wait for Uncle Fred and Cousin Osbourne to step out, but nothing happens. We look inside. There isn't anybody in the buggy at all. I think there's a word missing in this next bit.
Yeah.
Aunt Lucy says, "Oh," in a real loud voice and faints. She really said, "Oh, oh bollocks."
Yeah.
The poor old horse doesn't last the night, does it?
No.
I find that dead in the barn the next morning, and I've got no clue about what's happened to Uncle Fred and Cousin Osbourne.
So they'd have to walk like miles to the depot or Warren's farm, which is the nearest neighbour. So they are essentially cut off.
Yes. So they decide to wait for Cap Pritchett, and when he turns up next, they'll leave with him. Presumably he's got a transport. He's got his own horse and buggy if he's delivering the mail. So they'll get a ride with him over to back into town to make a report.
Yeah. And Aunt Lucy's proper failed a sand roll now, hasn't she? Because all she does is just rocking back and forth, mumbling, and Fred always warned me, it's no use. So poor little Willie has to get all his meals and look after them both.
And in the meantime, those dreams are still coming. Dreams about the black thing like a tree walking through the woods and sort of rooting itself to one particular spot so it could pray with all those mouths, pray down to that old god in the ground below. So yeah, exactly what you said. This is something coming up from the earth. And there's something very horrible about that praying with all those mouths as well.
Yeah.
I can almost hear like a discordant sort of chorus.
Rumbling. Yeah. So I like this bit here. I don't know where I got the idea that it was how it prayed, by sort of attaching its mouths to the ground. Maybe it was on account of seeing that green slime, or had I really seen it? I'd never gone back to look. Maybe it was all in my head, the druid's story about them ones, and the voice that said shoggoth and all the rest. So he's got into rationalization mode now.
Yeah, it's almost like the 7 stages of grief, isn't it? These stories.
It is. Yeah. And it all ends the same way, doesn't it? Right? Gibbering in a cell or committing suicide.
Yeah. But he does have a ray of hope, because Halloween's on a Thursday. The mail is delivered on a Thursday. So Cap Pritchett is going to rock up on a Thursday and they'll be able to ride into town with him. However, this must be Wednesday night, I guess now. Different dream this time. I dreamed a bunch of men come in the night and crawled through the parlour bedroom window where Aunt Lucy slept and got her. They tied her up and took her away, all quiet, in the dark, because they had cat eyes and didn't need light to see. The dream scared me so, I woke up while it was just breaking into dawn. I went down the hall to Aunt Lucy right away. She was gone. So, not a dream.
Hardest though, the men with cat eyes. It's almost a ghoul-like kind of thing, the nocturnal vision and all that.
Well, this is where I went straight into Worms of the Earth. The Children of the Night, I think they're called.
It's Machen, isn't it? The weirdly shaped eyes like a cat's, the little people that live in the hills, the white people, the Shining Pyramid.
Yes.
Which actually, if you think about the altar and everything, because very much like that.
Yeah. So the window is open. He looks outside, doesn't see any footprints, but Aunt Lucy is gone. In the morning, he goes out and starts shouting for her. He walks over to the barn, the door's open and the cows are gone. He finds some prints going up the road, but he doesn't think it's safe to follow them. And this is where he goes into the next stage, which is despair, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he thinks, well, is even Cat Pritchett going to show up this afternoon? Can I really afford to wait around for him? So he decides he's going to walk it himself. So he has a rummage around and finds a little money in Uncle Fred's drawer of the bureau and Cousin Osborne's letter with the address in Kingsport he wrote it from, which is going to be an important point in a moment.
Yes, indeed.
And is literally on his way out with his little, imagine he's got his little stick over his shoulder, you know, one of those, the little hobo kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it is that. Yeah.
And he hears something coming down the road, footsteps. Someone walking along the road just around the bend. I stood for a minute, waiting to see, waiting to run, because he doesn't know if this is friend or foe. Then he came along. He was tall and thin and looked something like Uncle Fred, only a lot younger and without a beard. And he was wearing a nice city kind of suit and a crush hat. He smiled when he saw me and come marching up like he knowed who I was. Hello, Willie, he said. Don't you know me? I'm Cousin Osborne. Or is he?
Well, this is it, isn't it? Because we know about shoggoths and their shape-shifting qualities, but this is the speculation I have with it. Is, you know, he's obviously said he's from Arkham right in a minute. You know, he drops that bollock and says, "Oh, when I lived in Arkham," and he's like, "Well, your letter says you came from Kingsport."
Oh, I meant Kingsport. I lived in Arkham another time. Yeah.
So is he a corrupt, like a shoggoth copy, or is he just a cultist? Is he one of Shubby's?
Yeah, is Cousin Osborne a cultist? Yeah, that's more the feeling I have.
That's more the feeling I have as well. First time I read it, I was thinking it's a bit like the Thing, isn't it? You know, I was thinking it was like a Thing copy kind of thing, but no, I don't think so at all. Because there's the whole thing about, oh well, I told him to come and get me a few days later, and all this.
It is an odd one because then you do have that slip with Arkham and that stuff as well, don't you? But is that this guy is trying to be so duplicitous he just confuses himself almost?
Indeed,
or perhaps he doesn't really live in Kingsport. Who knows?
Exactly.
So it's an unanswered question, that one. I'll be interested to hear people's opinions on that. Cousin Osborne, is he actually Cousin Osborne or something else?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, having reread it all through a few times now, I think he is Cousin Osborne, but Cousin Osborne is a cultist.
Because the other thing, if he was something else, he'd just come in and grab the kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, he doesn't need this charade in order to grab a 12-year-old kid.
Especially if you're a shoggy, you know, you just
go over the house, didn't you?
Yeah, you just go full on tentacle attack, wouldn't you? Yeah.
They go back into the house. See, this makes you think as well. We went back in and he fixed some coffee and I made a couple of sandwiches and we ate. So that says to me is human. Is making coffee and is eating sandwiches. It might be an evil, twisted, whatever. But do shoggoths eat sandwiches? There's a question.
Well, yeah, I mean, compare and contrast it to Michael Shea's fat face shoggoth.
Yeah, we know what he ate.
Exactly. This is it. We know what he ate. He ate prostitutes. He did.
Or is it a cultist pretending to be Cousin Osborne? That's another possibility, I suppose.
But there's the similarity to the face and everything, isn't there?
That's true. Yeah, he's got the family resemblance, doesn't he? Yeah, I think he's a branch of the family that went wrong, perhaps.
A decayed branch of the Osbournes, like the decayed Whateleys.
Oh, nice. And he might be living out here somewhere in the woods anyway.
Well, that was my other suspicion.
Yeah, because no suitcase and all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got no luggage, no nothing.
So poor little William, he's got no one else to talk to. He's got to get all this out, right? So he tells him everything that's gone on. And it's all put down to boyish imagination, basically, isn't it? It's such a condescending line. You may be right, Willie, he said, but don't let your imagination run away with you, son. Condescending prick.
Yeah, exactly. Willie's adamant, isn't it? He's just like, I don't care if they laugh at me. I don't give a shit. I want to get out of it before I get eaten.
But then that's when he, as you said, drops his bollock, because he says, it reminds me of all that silly talk I heard back home in Arkham. And it always seems to get worse around Halloween. I thought you lived in Kingsport. So, yeah, traps himself there.
Yeah, trapped in a lie.
And he doesn't want the boy to leave. He wants him to stay there. Let me have a look around and see what's what and what's actually going on. I guess it's almost a feeling like he wants to keep him here until dark, perhaps. That's when they come for you. Perhaps they're, again, if it's like the little people, they tend to come out at night.
They do. Yes, they do. Yeah, they could. Yeah, because the eyes, because of their eyes, they're photosensitive. Because that's something I used in a story when I used the little people, Machen little people, was a flashlight, a torch in the eyes to stun it, get away, kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think Willie was suspicious from the very start. I think he's quite a switched on kid. But then he says, if you want to know what I really thought, I thought maybe he wasn't really Cousin Osbourne at all. And if he wasn't, then who was he? So, yes, that muddies the waters, doesn't it? Still,
it does muddy the waters, but we are a first-person narrative, unreliable narrators abound. But yeah, I mean, there's the similarity. I mean, is he a copy? Is he
clone?
Another Osbourne? Is he not Cousin Osbourne? Is he cousin something else? Is he Cousin Frank?
Yeah, actually, that's a distinct possibility. There's branches of the family.
Yeah.
Because Grandma knows all about this stuff. I suppose anyone who lives there would be aware of the folklore and the stories, but she seemed to know quite a lot. We've got the ancestor, who's a supposed witch.
Yeah.
So, you know, be quite in keeping to have sort of rotten branches, wouldn't it, in this?
Well, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
And this is where the good Cap Pritchett turns up to save the day, almost.
Well, he tries. But yeah, I mean, Osborne's right on it, though, isn't he? He's like, let me talk to him. I'll talk to him about your aunt and uncle. No sense in alarming him. And we don't want any scandal, do we? You run along inside. But Willie's like, no, bollocks. And yeah, again, condescension, isn't it? Of course, son, but this is a matter for adults. Now run along, I'll call you.
And he drags him in the house, doesn't he? He says, I mean, and slams the door.
Yeah.
And I thought this was such a great thing. It's something that's quite common, I suppose, in some types of film now, where the kid knows that the neighbour is a vampire and the vampire's talking to the policeman.
Well, Fright Night, there you go.
Yeah, so many things. No, it's all okay. No, you didn't hear any screams. Oh, it's just the TV. And it's that sort of setup. And no one's going to believe the kid anyway, right?
Well, it's the whole, like, concept behind Stranger Things, really, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So I think Bloch is way ahead of the curve, isn't he, on this stuff as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, he did a lot of what Stephen King went on to do before Stephen King did it.
Yeah.
Like with this kind of stuff with the kids knowing what's going on, because that's basically every Stephen King book ever, isn't it?
So yeah, there's this talking going on outside, rhubarb, and Cap turns to go, and really he's got one chance here. He seizes his chance. He runs out. Wait for me, Cap, I'm coming. Take me to town. And Cap looks a bit puzzled because old cousin Ozzy said that you'd gone away with Fred and Lucy, but you're here. So what's going on? And Cap's this reminded me, there was a series of films called House.
Oh yes, I remember those very well.
House 2, they had the guy come in who was an electrician. It was Cliff from Cheers. John Ratzenberger.
That's it.
And he's Bill the electrician, but Bill is also a part-time adventurer. And he says, he's like, oh, what you got here is a case of poltergeists. Let me just get something out of my toolbox. It kind of reminded me of that manual worker who steps in and just, you know, he can fend off the forces of darkness. Well, this being Lovecraftian, of course he can't, but You know, he does his best.
Well, Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China, isn't it? Truck driver.
Yeah, blue collar hero, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which again, I think it's a nice contrast to M.R. James and even Lovecraft to some sense.
Scholars and learned men.
Yeah. So he hops on to the buggy, and cousin Osborne's not too happy about this, and tries to climb onto the buggy as well. Oh no, 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 no. Cap reached into his jacket, and when he pulled his hand out again, he had a big pistol in it. Get down, he yelled. Mister, you're talking to the United States Mail, and you don't tell the government nothing. Understand? Now get down before I mess your brains all over this road. My postman talks
Brilliant.
like that. He doesn't. That'd be good if he did.
Badass postman, isn't he? You know.
So off they go. And now Willie gets the chance to tell the story again. And it's obviously it's a mad story, but Cap just sits quietly and listens. It's not discounting it. It's not saying this is your imagining. Oh, this was nice as well. We hear thunder. Guess we're in for a spell of rain, Cap said, looking up. That's thunder, I reckon. Drums, I said. Drums. We do get the storm again, of course. You've got to have a good old Gothic storm, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. And I love this bit here. The old buggy was lurching and bouncing, and the rain was whistling down in the wind, and it was all like an awful dream, but it was real. It was real when I hollered out to Captain Pritchett about the time in the woods. Shoggoth, I yelled. What's a shoggoth? Cap grabbed my arm, and then the lightning come, and I could see his face with his mouth open, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the road and what was ahead of us.
The trees sort of come together, hanging over the next turn, and in the black it looked as if they were alive, moving and bending and twisting to block our way. Lightning flickered up again, and I could see them plain, and also something else, something that wasn't a tree, something big and black just squatting there, waiting, with ropey arms, squirming and reaching. And Cap, being a stout chap, shouts Shoggoth and gives it 3 rounds rapid fire.
Indeed.
Good man.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, bullets don't do much to Dark Young or Shoggoths or
No.
Not much else in the mythos either, to be honest.
Not really. Not really.
And Cap and the horse get it, right?
Yeah, Cap must have had the reins wrapped around his arm, because when the horse fell and the buggy turned over, he went right over the dashboard head first and down into the squirming mess that was the horse and the black thing that grabbed it. I felt myself falling in the dark, then landing in the mud and gravel of the road. Yeah, incredible tension he's got on this bit. I love this sequence. Yeah.
And it's so quick as well. I mean, that's in a space of less than half a page. We've gone from telling the story, lightning flashes, and then bang. That's it. It's that quick.
Now, you see, I tend towards how Bloch does action. Short, sharp shocks.
Yeah.
I always find it's much more effective. Like you read, especially like some of these epic fantasy things, and the action scenes go on and on and on and on, and it loses its impact after like a page, doesn't it? Keep it short, keep it sharp, you know.
Absolutely. And I think it's funny because there was that letter criticising Conan and Robert E. Howard. The action in this is quite Howardian.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
And especially that line about I'm going to spread your brains across the road. I mean, that's Conan. Right?
Well, there's the bit before that where he cousin Osbourne says something, and the Cat Pritchard just says, "Nah, mate," and spits a load of chewing tobacco at his feet. It's like that's Western. That's pure Western stuff, isn't it? You know.
True. Yeah. So William's got nowhere else to go but to run back to the house, really. But he's kind of getting a little bit lost. You can imagine the shock he's had, plus the storm and, you know, the mental turmoil, I suppose. This is when he sees the fires, red and green fires burning in all that rain. I saw a big white stone in the centre of a cleared off space on top of the hill. The red and green fires was around and behind it, so everything stood out clear against the flames. They was men around the altar, men with long grey beards and wrinkled up faces, men throwing awful smelling stuff on the fires to make them blaze red and green. And they had knives in their hands. So first we get the cattle, the cattle that were in the barn earlier, they're sacrificed.
Mm.
And with all this stuff they're throwing on the fire, it creates a thick black smoke, and that's when they begin to chant. This is when they bring up the other sacrifices. Now, it doesn't actually say it, does he? Which I thought was nice, because again, it does leave that little doubt, but I mean, it's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
The smoke kept me from seeing plain, but these was two-legged sacrifices, not four. I might have seen better at that, only now I hid my face when they dragged them up to the white altar and used the knives. So it's got to be Lucifred, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
And again, I like the fact it's a horrible little detail, but he looks away. He doesn't want to see it. That's very, very human.
Yeah, and all this chanting and everything, but then like this here, because the implication is quite terrifying, isn't it? The ground began to shake. It was storming. There was thunder and lightning and fire and smoke and chanting, and I was scared out of my wits. But one thing I'll swear to, the ground began to shake. It shook and shivered, and they called out to something, and in a minute something came.
Mm. And here it is again, the black, ropey, slimy jelly tree thing with its goat hooves and mouths and snaky arms, and it begins to feed. And as it feeds, it swells and grows, which I suppose is what plants do, isn't it? To be...
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
It's all part of the cycle of life. Just happens to be someone else's.
Yeah. Poor old Willie, that's his sandroll failed.
Yes, I mean, you can't blame him at this stage. Yeah,
no, absolutely
yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yes, and he somehow finds himself back at the farm. And as I said, he's a sharp kid. What does he do? Gets nails and a hammer. And this is like the zombie siege, isn't it? Scene now.
Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead. Yeah.
Planks across the windows and all the rest of it. Nail up the doors. By this time, the storm has died down and he falls asleep. And it's like we switch into present tense now for the ending, which is quite a nice little touch. So now this is real time. Woke up a couple of hours ago. It was daylight. I could see it shining through the cracks. From the way the sun come in, I knew it was afternoon already. I slept through the whole morning and nothing had come. I figured now maybe I could let myself out and make town on foot like I planned yesterday. But I figured wrong. Before I got started taking out the nails, I heard him. It was Cousin Osbourne, of course. The man who said he was Cousin Osbourne, I mean. He come into the yard calling Willie, but I didn't answer. Then he tried the door and then the windows. I could hear him pounding and cussing. That was bad. But then it gets worse as well.
Yep.
Because Cousin Osbourne is talking to someone, or something, we should say.
I sneaked to look through the crack, but he was already went round the back of the house, so I didn't see him or who he was with. Guess that's just as well, because if I'm right, I wouldn't want to see. Hearing is bad enough. Hearing that deep croaking, and then him talking, and then that croaking again. Nice.
Yes, we get the awful smell like the green slime. This is another little detail here. I heard Cousin Osbourne say something about wait until dark. We can use the well if you find the gate. Look for the gate. So he speculates that the gate is an entrance to the underground place where, well, we've got the worms of the earth, but the druids live down there.
Yeah.
This thing lives down there, which is that nice feeling of what we got on top, particularly this time of year. I mean, we're in this time of year now. You look around outside, you've got the leaves turning red. You know, it's that lovely mixture of green and browns and reds and oranges. Everything is still quite verdant, but underneath it's just a foul pit of corruption.
Yeah.
And here's Tom with the weather.
Yeah, it's Thomas Ligotti with the weather.
Oh,
hey.
Oh my word, a Thomas Ligotti weather forecast.
Oh my God.
I'm going to work on that.
That's a tremendous idea.
I'm going to have a think about that. I'll do like that. So that's basically it. He knows now that he's got until dark. They're going to come for him when it's dark. What can he do? They'll break down the doors or the windows and come and take me. They'll take me down into the well, into the black places where the shoggoths are. There must be a whole world down under the hills, a world where they hide and wait to come out for more sacrifices, more blood. They don't want any humans around. except for sacrifices. I saw what that thing did on the altar. I know what's going to happen to me. Grim, grim upon grim.
Very, very.
And then we do get this about the cousin Osbourne as well. Maybe they'll miss the real cousin Osbourne back home and send somebody to find out what become of him. Maybe folks will miss Cap Pritchett and go on a search. But of course, even if they do, that's going to be too late for him. So again, that implication that cousin Osbourne has been replaced somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird one.
I'm kind of leaning now towards that maybe he is a relative, but a nefarious one that lives in the woods.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Or perhaps he just can't believe that a cousin would be so evil. Maybe it's that, like a denial.
Cousin would do it. Yeah, interesting.
And he sort of leaves this warning in the notebook. I don't know if we mentioned that he found the notebook and decided to start writing this, hence the title of the story, of course. And he says, if you don't believe me, just go to the woods, go to the hill. The footprints have probably been washed away, but the altar stone will be there. And look at the big round spots around the stone, spots 2 feet wide. And then we get that sort of, well, this is a very Lovecraftian ending in a couple of ways.
Yeah.
We get the final revelation that those wide 2 round spots are fingerprints in italics. That reminds me of Beneath the Pyramids.
Yes.
The 5 heads. Oh no, it's a foot.
It's a foot. Yeah.
And then we get the door is bursting up, and that's it. The end. Nice.
It's that how to end a first-person narrative story without doing something like that is a constant trick. But this is nowhere near as bad as Long's.
Yeah, because there it's that's the first letter of the word he's about to write.
And the door bursts open. I mean, that's believable.
Yeah, he's not writing, he might be saying it.
Yeah.
He's not writing it.
Yeah.
Not a happy ending at all.
No. Lovely little story that. I've always been a big fan of that one. I'm not alone, am I? Because
well, no. We're in good company.
Yeah. I believe this was the first story read by a certain writer by the name of Ramsey Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah, in the introductory notes by Robert M. Price in The Mysteries of the Worm, it says here, this effective story has the distinction of being the first piece of Cthulhu mythos fiction that young Ramsey Campbell stumbled upon before he'd even run across the name Lovecraft. It was the direct inspiration for one of his earliest efforts, The Hollow in the Woods, one of his pieces of juvenilia, which was published in Crypt of Cthulhu 50. It's interesting because when we were talking to Ramsey Campbell, I was trying to bully him into printing his juvenilia, getting a collection. so if you're listening, Mr. Campbell, please.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think it's obviously Lovecraftian, but done very, very well. And considering Bloch was, well, I suppose he obviously was a little bit older by this time, so he was a more experienced writer. But having said that, I'm still a fan of his early stories as well.
Oh, I am as well. Well, it's the same with Campbell. I mean, his early stories, as much as he says, they're a bit clunky and all the rest of it, I think they're tremendously effective.
Yeah. They both have that ability, that skill to slowly build up the tension. And, well, again, when we interviewed Ramsey, the way he spreads that across the 3 books.
Oh, the 3 births of Daeloth. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just in total awe how you can gradually increase tension over 3 books. I struggled to do it in 5,000 words. It's masterful.
That's an incredible trilogy of books. Yeah.
So I feel, yes, it's building on Lovecraft. Would that be the right way to put it? I guess it is, in a sense, in that it gives you another aspect to the mythos and ties it firmly back into Lovecraft's own roots. Pardon the pun.
Hey.
But again, plays with it in a slightly different way, because it could have gone full shoggoth here. It could have just been a shoggoth, big protoplasmic thing, but he came up with something different.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what I like about Robert Bloch, his mythos stories, because I had the one you've got way back when, and it was one of the first collections of mythos fiction not by Lovecraft that I read. And I've always thought that what I really liked about them is the fact that he never took he didn't like where Derleth would take something and have it almost like it was set in stone.
It's verbatim, isn't it?
Yeah. And then use it exactly how Lovecraft would do it. Bloch always put his own spin on it. You can see that like with the story we covered previously. You know, his stories featuring Nyarlathotep, I think, are probably my favorite Nyarlathotep stories, because he just takes it to another level.
Oh yeah.
You know, that faceless god. I mean, again, you talk about tension and grimness. That whole pursuit across the desert, and oh man, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
One thing he does very well is he sets it in that historical background as well, the same as with this. And I know Lovecraft does that to an extent, but I feel particularly with the Nyarlathotep stories, you get that real sense of ancient Egypt, and the timeless desert and all the rest of it. The sandy tombs, well-known actor,
yes. Poddy Franz.
And Poddy Franz. And as we said, that doesn't sound like it's 75 years old.
Yeah.
It's very fresh.
But I didn't really put a number on it until now, because we've talked about this before. It's like I in my brain, the 1990s was last week. You know, time seems to have no meaning as you get older, does it? You know,
well, not since they turned on that CERN thing, which I'm still convinced is.
Oh yeah, we're in the bloody twilight zone, aren't we? Let's face it.
Yeah, and you could see this as an adaptation. I mean,
I'd love to see an adaptation of this. It'd be perfect, because you don't need a big cast. It'd be great for one of them sort of anthology series, wouldn't it? Well, like Night Gallery or anything like that.
Yeah, black and white. You can see it in black and white. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, like that, like the adaptation of Pigeons from Hell, the Robert E. Howard story that we watched.
Yes,
I love that. It's done so well. You could do this exactly like that.
Yeah, that was 1960s, I guess that was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's been mid 60s kind of time. Yeah, it was very effective. I can't help but think now, if a modern adaptation was made, they go full CGI on the creature, which I think would be a mistake.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Guillermo del Toro. I'm never going to forgive him for Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm just not. It's like somebody else was going on about the other day about the Mountains of Madness film that I don't think it'll ever happen. And the people are like, oh, it's such a shame. Is it though?
Yeah.
Is it though? Having seen what he's done with it, is it really that much of a shame? Sorry, I know I'm probably alone in thinking this, but I don't think it's that much of a shame.
Well, I think it would be seen as a copy of The Thing, would be the first thing. I think people who didn't know Lovecraft would see, oh, you're just ripping off The Thing. And it would be hard in a way. I don't know if it was true or not, but there was supposedly a still from some shots they did of a creature. And it was very Thing-like. I don't know if it was supposed to be the Shoggoth or what exactly it was, one of the elder ones or whatever it was. But it could have been a still from The Thing. So I think it's very difficult, if you do make it, to distance it from The Thing, which again was all real-time effects and still holds up today.
There's actually a really good video game based on it by Zoetrope. It's a first-person narrative adventure game where you end up down there and you end up being chased by the Shoggoth, and that's done really well. Because it's just basically dark tunnels, and there's just a big blob filling it coming towards you, and the tickly and all that. It's like, oh, run, you know. Brilliant. That's all you need.
That's exactly what you need, isn't it? And we're back to one of our other gripes. We're going to change this to the Innsmouth gripey old men. The M.R. James.
Oh God, Mezzotint. Yeah,
which was great up until the point a bloke in a suit comes climbing through the window.
Just a hand. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
That's all you needed, that hand.
And then the look on the face of the other person, perhaps a shadow.
Yeah. No, just show the face and zoom in, show the face, cut to black. That's how I'd done it. Hammer horror style, you know.
So yeah, very effective story, very well written. I don't think I've read anything by Bloch that I haven't enjoyed.
No, same.
So no doubt is an author we're going to return to. In fact, funnily enough, the only thing I haven't read by him is Psycho. I've never read the book.
You know, I don't think I ever have either.
Hmm.
I know it's actually closer to the Ed Gein story than the film was.
Yeah, I believe it mentions the Necronomicon as well, doesn't it? I think
He does, yes. Yeah.
maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I feel like because of the film, it's overdone. Everyone knows about it.
Mm.
But perhaps if we do delve into the book, we can unearth a few. Well, no, do we really want to unearth anything and bring it out into the sun? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Although saying that, I did stumble across a little nugget of something I didn't know about. I haven't seen this before anybody starts pointing a finger at me and calling me a pervert. But apparently there is an official XXX porn parody of Psycho.
Okay,
Which was made in like 2010 or something.
Can you see the cogs whirling in my brain now?
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm just picturing the shower scene with a dildo or something.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't seen it, but yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh no! I just thought of something even more horrible. No, I'm not going to go there.
No.
Oh. So there we go. Thank you, dear listener. I hear Mr. Sergeant is pulling up in a bus outside. We'd best away before night falls. In Innsmouth at Halloween, it's dangerous enough most times of the year. But yes, when the veil is thin, it's even thinner in Innsmouth than in most places.
Veil's always thin here.
Yeah. There's barely even a veil at all. It's almost veilless. It's beyond the veil.
Beyond the veil. Nice.
Yes, and don't pick anything up on the way out, particularly any interesting looking plants. Just leave them where they are.
Yeah, and if any pop-eyed locals ask you if you want to go bobbing for apples, just say no.
Yeah, they ain't apples.
They ain't apples. They ain't apples at all.
So thanks for listening. As always, we'd love to hear your opinions, particularly on Cousin Osbourne, Cousin Ozzy. What do you think? That's really got me thinking, that one, I have to say. Which again, is a great thing about these stories. Always room for speculation. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to Julia Morgan. She's done a great reading of this story. In fact, if you haven't seen her YouTube channel, do take a look at that. She's got a ton of great readings on there of all sorts of good stuff.
Oh, nice.
I'd also like to say welcome, a big Innsmouth welcome to our latest patron, Steve Grant. Thanks very much for signing up. As always, if you'd like to join our growing throng of gibbering patrons, then do check out the Patreon site. When you subscribe, you get access to all our bonus content. Or for the IBC and Strange Shadows, you'll get a free copy of Innsmouth News PDF, which, as I said, I'll be working on the Halloween edition. That should be out in the next 10 days or so. And you get free entry to our events, such as the Innsmouth Literary Festival. Oh, and by the way, the panels from ILF25 are up on the Patreon site now for subscribers.
So, as we said earlier, just to make it clearer, because I kind of gabbled a bit, next time we won't have a full episode, but we will have one of my special mini episodes, because Rob's away, where I'll be looking at the appendices from the Chaosium Call of Cthulhu book, Mysteries of the Worm. So we'll be hearing, in his own words, Robert Bloch talking about meeting Lovecraft and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, we'll be back to look at Elizabeth Bear's Shoggoths in Bloom.
Marvellous. Thanks again for joining us, folks. If we don't speak to you before, have a wonderful Halloween. Compliments of the season. Be careful where you go digging.
No digging here.
With that warning to the curious, it's goodbye from me, Rob Poyton.
And it's goodbye from me, Tim Mendes.